Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for visiting Rabbani Research. We will talk on innovative ideas today, and this, as you know, is the fourth of a series of an Stanford University book on driving innovation and ideas. This part is written by Balancing Criticism and Creativity by Theresa Johnston. Why you need both criticism and creativity, and how to quash bad ideas without stifling innovation, we will discuss further. In the 16th and 70s, few workplaces could boast of such brilliant engineers as Xerox PARC. Among their inventions were the first true personal computer and world's first laser printer. Yet, few of their ideas ever earned much money for Xerox. The problem wasn't a lack of creativity, says Jonathan Bender, a professor of political economy at Stanford Business School. Instead, what the Xerox PARC engineers really needed was something their managers should have dispensed more freely, that is, constructive criticism. Bender calls Xerox PARC an example of where the technical people, the idea generation people, were not being pushed hard enough. Many people believe that criticism and creativity are incompatible in the workplace, but as Bender says it, creativity and criticism are two complementary forces that interact to form a greater whole. Scrutiny. If a company has a wild and crazy R&D unit and no scrutiny, for example, managers and executives will receive plenty of ideas, but they also run the risk of accepting some very bad ones. And if it is a tough-minded firm, he says, with lots of hurdles that a new project has to get over, they may avoid adopting bad ideas but stifle innovation. The really hard problem that entrepreneurs face is how to reduce errors to acceptable level. One way to give employees useful feedback is through a formal introduction system, where their ideas are graded on various dimensions such as technical merit and market potential. Unlike a global criticism of this is no good, introduction system can help problem solvers figure out why they are stalled and what they do about it. If an idea is fixable, a manager can point to the introduction system and say, this part of the solution is okay, this part of the solution needs serious work, and this part of the solution we have to simplify and start over. If an idea really balancing criticism and creativity, why you need both for innovation. How to quash bad ideas without stifling innovation. Turning ideas into reality is terrible. The introduction system can soften and blow. A manager might say, probably the best thing about introduction system is that they shift the process away from egos and personalities and more towards the nature of the problem. Everybody makes mistakes, and when you are a leader, if you don't create the kind of organization that will correct the errors, you could lead your firm right over a cliff. Every team needs a devil's advocate, and this was written by Elizabeth McBride. Healthy conflict. Healthy conflicts can help your team be more successful. Teams with a lone minority dissenter outperform other teams where all members agree. Researchers and practitioners have long struggled struggle to understand how to compose and manage teams that have healthy conflicts, and the concept of skewed conflict provides a potential solution to understanding the roots and dynamics of such constructive disagreements in teams. That devil's advocate, which could be an individual or a small minority, has the sensitivity to see the difference, perceive them as conflict, and then communicate about the differences in non confrontational ways. In a study, the researchers surveyed members of 41 pre existing teams at a large financial corporation in the Netherlands. One of the most interesting ideas to emerge from the research is that past academic work might have missed the point in its understanding whether conflict helps or hurts teams. Past research has focused on whether teams with conflicts do better or worse than teams with no conflicts and has neglected to examine the structure of conflicts in teams as being critical. For managers, the research points to the benefit of constructing a team where there is at least one member with high emotional intelligence who is willing to play the devil's advocate role. Having such a vocal minority can help teams obtain the holy grail of team dynamics, healthy conflicts that improve team creativity, decisions, and outcome. How do you define a new product category? And this was written by Beth Rimbe. A game-changing idea can win or lose depending on how quickly the consumer gets it. It's easy to convince the public to buy into an innovation when it is an improvement on a product or service they already know and love. But what happens when your idea is so new it defies categorization? True innovations run the risk of being ignored if they aren't easily understood. A lot of innovation involves taking ideas from different areas of life and combining them in a new ways. And that's a very powerful way to innovate. In fact, that's probably the main way in which people innovate. Some of the most powerful innovations that we have actually seen in the world are ones that take ideas from areas that people don't think are related to each other and put them together in a really insightful way. Both entrepreneurs and firms can really benefit from being able to combine ideas, but it raises an interesting puzzle or an interesting challenge, which is when you have to try to explain to people what it is, what you are doing when you are borrowing from those different categories. The problem is that people and the rest of the world don't think about the hybrids. They think about things in terms of existing categories. We think about firms as being auto manufacturers, and we think about firms as being telephone manufacturers. A good example is a product like a digital camera. When digital camera first came out, digital cameras were kind of a combination of a computer, an electronic device, and a camera. Like film camera with a lens and so forth, that poses a challenge for stakeholders, for consumers, for investors, and for others. Because how do you define a new product category? A game-changing idea can win or lose depending on how quickly the consumer gets it. Turning ideas into reality. When you first see a digital camera, is it an example of a camera? Or is it an example of an electronic device? Or is it an example of a computer peripheral? My work tries to understand how the ambiguity of a genuinely innovative new product affects the strategies and success of the firm. Why do innovative products need a very clear identity? If people can't classify products or services into things that they already understand, then they have to engage in effortful reasoning to make sense of that and to try to understand what they are doing. The more you have to do, the less you are actually likely to value it. We tend to value a thing more when it is easier for us to recognize what it is. The challenge for innovators and for entrepreneurs is to make it easy for people to make sense of the product or innovation. Oftentimes, the way they do that is through analogy. We use the power of analogy as a way of getting people to anchor on a certain set of expectations and then use that to interpret the new device. For example, the iPhone is like a cell phone except that it also has the following features. Or we say that a digital camera is like a camera but it also has the following features. It creates a really hard strategic challenge for the company because you are choosing from lots of different categories. You have different choices in terms of what analogy you are going to draw, or you are going to say it is more this category or more like that category. How do you decide which analogies to use? What's hard when you are in a new product category or new innovative category is that you don't know which one you are supposed to put your bet on, and that feels really risky. But that doesn't mean that you should do it. You still have to make a bet. You have to take your best guess for what the right analogy is. Otherwise, you just end up as a muddle and then nobody can really make sense of it and everybody will tend to devalue you for that reason. Is it difficult for established companies to introduce innovative products? If you are a big established company, people try to look at that product and think this must somehow be related to what you already do. That puts a constraint on how people make sense of it, and therefore affects your ability to be innovative. I think a good example comes from the realm of digital cameras. When digital cameras were first introduced, what they saw was producers from all different kinds of industries. You saw the traditional film camera producers enter into the market and start making digital cameras. You saw the Nikon and Canons, but you also saw computer companies come in. You saw HP make digital cameras, and you saw electronics firms like Sony or Panasonic come into the digital camera business as well. We tend to value a thing more when it is easier for us to recognize what it is. Turning ideas into reality, if you were coming at it from a lens of looking at a product that Nikon had made, then your expectations are shaped by what a traditional camera manufacturer was able to do. Those things make a big difference. I think the lesson for large firms is that your existing identity in the market, like the kinds of the products and services that you are known for, can really restrict your ability to introduce new products into the market if they are genuinely innovative and genuinely different from what you already know how to do. Is it easier for startups to bring innovations to the market? I think startups have a big advantage in the sense that they don't have the legacy of past or the burden of the past. A startup comes up on the scene with a new technology. Nobody has an association with any existing set of products. On the one hand, that's a liability because you have got to build up a reputation and you have got to establish what type of product it is. But it can be an advantage because you have more degrees of freedom, you have more latitude to choose how it is that you want to portray your product, what it is that you are actually producing, and what the value of the product is. Why is creating market identity as important as creating the product? Entrepreneurs and innovators oftentimes think about the hard part being the technical side of the innovation. How do I really get those components to work together in the way that I have imagined that they will? There is no doubt that the technical side of it is really important, but we can't lose sight of the social side of the how people are going to make sense of your product relative to all the other products that exist out there in the world. That's a very hard part of it as well. The really successful entrepreneurs are going to be the ones who solve both the technical problem and the market identity problem. Stanford 5, Stanford University book on driving innovation and ideas, part 5 will follow next. We are business consultants based in Pakistan. If you need to accelerate your organizational performance and transform your company to meet the upcoming business challenges for a better tomorrow, please contact us for a turnaround. You can find us at rabbaniresearch.net. Trust Rabbani for quality competence. Thank you so much.